Hey everyone, Ethicsy Fastano here. We're going to talk about ethics. It's no secret that we live in interesting times. If you look around, just in the past couple of years, big companies like Facebook have been questioned for their marketing practices. In the last 50 years or so, behavioral economics has become a thing. In the last 10 or 20 years, the science of persuasion has become a thing. And it raises some interesting questions about what's ethical. But also not just on a large corporate scale, but on a personal scale, we can ask questions about large things like corporations and take away insights about ourselves. Because all of this behavioral economics study that has been done, in fact, I have a book here, Evolutionary Psychology by David Buss, and Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. They both talk about our biases. I have many other books over on my bookshelf as well, but they talk about cognitive biases that we have and how they affect us. And big companies have studied these biases in order to persuade us. In fact, the YouTube algorithm uses these biases. Facebook uses these biases. Instagram uses these biases. Most internet stuff uses these biases. Big companies generally use these biases in their email systems, etc., etc. And by looking at these biases, we can learn things about ourselves and what we should do in our own lives. And also, if we apply typology to it and look at how different people think about their functions, we can actually use that information to be better people and make the world a better place by making informed decisions. Taco Bell. Let's use fast food as an example. You're trying to sell someone something that's unhealthy for them. Burrito is unhealthy. We're going to look at 3 scenarios for how the ethics may play out in these situations. Scenario number 1. Imagine that you're going to go buy a burrito and you're just an uneducated citizen. You don't know anything about health, and there's this big corporation who knows how to sell you something. So they know it's bad for you, but you don't. Let's say, ooh, I love Taco Bell. You just go get in this habit of getting fast food every day, and it just tastes so good. And, oh, that's so tasty. Oh, well, you got fat, you got obese, you got a heart attack, and you died. In fact, there was actually McDonald's, I think, was sued for this a while back. Someone tried to sue them for making them fat. And yes, you may argue that they could have made a decision, but that's the question of the scenario. If you don't know that it's bad for you, where do the ethics lie? Do they lie on the corporation, or do they lie on you? You could argue that that person should have educated themselves. But what if they had never had the luck of having someone tell them information in the way they need to hear it to make better decisions? Let's think about how the different types in typology use their functions to make decisions. FI users will make decisions based on what they think is authentic and true to themselves. FE users will make decisions based on what they think is most ideal for the tribe. TI users will make decisions based on what they think is most accurate first, and then they'll try to apply that to the tribe, but they focus on accuracy first, like me. And then TE users just blaze things out, and they blast out and just do what's most effective, oftentimes regardless of what is authentic. And you could argue that ethically, if someone doesn't know something, and let's say they're an FI user, you need to persuade them from an authenticity perspective why it's not morally right to be eating Taco Bell. It's immoral to be eating fast food. And oftentimes you'll see, vegans, and that's usually those types, those FE users, vegans. Oh, the animals, it's so bad for the animals. Whereas the TE user is like, well, it's most effective to just eat the burrito. But then you would just tell the TE user in this scenario, well, it's not most effective. It'll hurt your ability to think straight, and people won't like you as much, and you won't be able to be as effective in the world if you eat fast food consistently. And based on that, you could also make the argument, well, what about eating fast food in moderation? Well, that's the issue. The marketing is so good. It's like social media. It's so easy to just Netflix. You get sucked into it, and they design it to keep you in it for hours. This is not news. It's been all over the news for over a year now. And it's a tough ethical question, and it's a problem that's bigger than all of us. And it's what are we supposed to do about it? Let's move on to scenario 2. Let's say neither Taco Bell nor the person buying the burrito knows it's bad. I know this isn't true in reality. Sometimes it is. Like, oftentimes a lot of the employees that work there don't know, and a lot of people buying are just kind of oblivious. They're ignorant. And I don't know if the majority of people in the world today are like this. I'm afraid they might be, but then that's again how my brain kind of works. I'm like always worried people are not aware, and it's like, but we'll get to that. I'm going to talk about that here in a bit. To answer the question of ethics in that scenario, imagine 1,000 years ago, there are people in Egypt, okay? And they don't know anything about health. They don't know all of the science we have today. Science is only a few hundred years old. Why would you assume that these people 1,000 years ago would, like, people 1,000 years ago had no access to the type of information we had today, and because of that, how could they be making ethical decisions with information they don't have? So if they make a decision that hurts someone else and they do it on accident, can you call it unethical? It's kind of like our manslaughter laws with vehicular manslaughter. If you accidentally hit someone, as opposed to a premeditated manslaughter where it's on purpose, you can be punished for both, but it's a different punishment. And I mean, this is a lot of what politics is, right? We're trying to figure out how to define these things and do what's best. And my argument is using things like typology and getting this kind of stuff accurately integrated into our system, which is very difficult, we can fix the problem. Now, that's a very large scale thing. I mean, ideally, we should be focusing on ourselves, right? It's like sweep your own front porch. Everything else follows. And in fact, Jordan Peterson talks about this in his book, 12 Rules for Life. Take care of yourself as if you were your own kid. And last but not least, the final scenario. Both you and the person selling to you know, and this is probably the most interesting one, you know that you should not eat too much fast food, and the people selling the fast food know that people shouldn't eat too much fast food. But because of the profit incentive, you're pushed to sell as much as you possibly can to make more money. And so they do everything they can to get you hooked in. And it's not an issue of willpower. I mean, if people have powerful persuasion science, and this is what I'm saying, we aren't aware of our own internal mechanisms a lot of the time. It's like we're unable to control ourselves, and it's not a conscious thing. It's not like we have control over our behavior a lot of the time. In fact, I talked about this in my Why INTPs Have Depression and Anxiety video. I'm arguing that, hey, oftentimes we're not even aware of our own biases. It's pretty bad. And how can we solve this? Well, ethically speaking, the most ethical thing we could do is design civilization in a way, and this is what I've really been trying to do with my own life, and is really one of my main motivations, is figure out how to design civilization in a way that naturally leads to better outcomes for ourselves and everyone. So that we don't, because willpower is a limited resource. We have to figure out how to use it efficiently. My computer crashed, so I lost a lot of footage, but I did retain some footage from when I recorded this the first time, so now we're going to switch to that. Persuading someone to buy something that's healthier for them. So let's say I am like the healthy version of Taco Bell. I'm like Healthy Bell or something. And I pretty much persuade, using advanced marketing techniques, someone to buy a healthy burrito. This is actually what Quest Nutrition does. Very smart. They make healthy products, and this is the answer, I think, to our entire debate here. They make healthy products and package them in a way that's appealing, that tricks people into making healthy decisions. but you have to be. It's. I heard an analogy. It's like you meet someone in the desert. They're starving of thirst. They don't realize they're starving of thirst. They're so starved of thirst they don't realize how much they need water. And you offer them a bowl of water. Okay. Then they go, no, I don't want that bowl of water. Ew, get that away from me. What's going to be the ethical thing to there? It's like this. You're like, here, drink the water. You need the water. You don't know how much you need the water. Drink it. It's the same type of thing. But you have to make sure you're handing them a bowl of water and not a bowl of desiccants or something, or poison, right? That's the hard part. All right, so talk's great, but what can you actually do to be more ethical? And that's a really interesting question, because there are very few things in life that are constant pretty much through everything. And this is one of those things. The answer is just try to be more ethical. Now, it does get a bit more complicated than that. What I recommend you do is you check out this book, Peak by Anders Ericsson. It's a really, really great book on how to build skills. Because everything is a skill. This is a fundamental truth that I found repeatedly. I've talked about this in previous videos as well. Everything is a skill, meaning you can practice it. You can develop your ability to gain skills quickly. And if you read Peak by Anders Ericsson, that's exactly what you'll learn how to do. And if you can get really good at building skills, not only will you be able to be good at being ethical, you'll be able to apply that to other things. And I think what we're really going for is being a better person in general, which is almost the definition of being ethical, is it not? I'm going to leave you with this quote. To effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in how we perceive the world, and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. Tony Robbins.